Hi and welcome to the next SGS episode. I'm your host Samuel Mork Bednarz, and today we'll talk about such amazing topics as research, and that's about it. It's not that complicated of a topic really, but it's something I've been doing recently, maybe a little bit too much, but it's an important thing even so, because you wanna have some sort of insight into what you're talking about, and you're not always talking about things that you have any idea about. Like, for instance, right now I'm writing a scene of a girl she's giving birth. And I don't know if any of you have noticed this, but I'm not a girl, and I don't have boobs, and I've never been pregnant. So I have just, I'm shooting in the blind here, trying to figure out how to describe this from her perspective, and how to describe the feeling and whatever. So I have to do research. I have to go out and talk to people who actually are girls and who have done these things, and get some sort of inside knowledge, because elsewhere I'm running the risk of writing something and then just making a complete idiot out of myself, because it's just obvious that I'm just completely ignorant to what I'm even saying. Mostly just a failsafe, I guess. You're also running into the risk of doing too much research, though. That's also a problem that I find a lot, not just with other people, but also with myself. But right, you can't, you do research if anything, my recommendation or what I do is I just write it. Just don't do a little bit of research if you really need to, but don't just put that off, and don't care too much about whether or not you're writing it correct. And then bring the research in when you're doing the editing, right? Because first of all, just get the story out and then work on the specifics of the details afterwards. That's what works for me anyway. That's also something to just say about my writing process, I guess, because that's really how I do it. It's just different things work for everyone. There's a doobly-doo, shoot me, say what you feel, but for me, what works is that I just don't think too much about being correct, or even making sure the story makes sense or anything like that. Just I know what the story needs to be, and I know where the story needs to go, and I write it one scene at a time, and then just do the just don't stop writing. Just write and write and write and write until it's done. And then when it's done, go back and rewrite and rewrite and rewrite and make sure everything is all right. But for the first time, just make a bare bones skeleton that you can build upon later. That's what I'm thinking anyway. I think it was Hemingway that said something like, I'm paraphrasing, but he said something like, writing is 40% writing and 60% editing, or something like that. I don't know. Hemingway definitely said the quote with the write drunk, edit sober, though. That's a good one. That one I'm sure is him. I don't know about the other one though, but I've heard that one somewhere. I suck with names, but I find a lot of interesting things with research too, because it really helps to get someone's insight. And what really helps also, if you can get the insight from someone who is a little bit creatively minded, because even people who have experienced something, if they're not creatively minded, they're sometimes less helpful, just from the fact that they don't know how to put the words together. And it's not like you're trying to make them write the scene for you, but it's very helpful when they know how to how to nail down the feeling in words that they can communicate to you, so you understand what they've gone through. Like this other thing, for instance, it was I'm also writing a short story, and in this short story there's a girl with a prosthetic leg, and I had to write about it, because in my story she's dragging the leg kind of behind her. So I wondered, is that realistic? Because the leg is cut off above the knee. So I was thinking, how does the muscles kind of work with that? Because you don't have all the muscle movements that you would have normally, and I imagined some sort of dragging, but I had to research it. I had to look like actually how much movement do you have with a prosthetic leg like that, and I did some research and stuff, and I didn't necessarily find exactly what I was looking for in that thing, but I found a lot of helpful resources. Like, for instance, I found this one YouTube channel. I can't remember what it's called. I'll put it in the description if you guys want to go see. And what she did a really good job of just explaining all these little like details and insights of having a prosthetic leg, and it was really interesting to watch, and it gave me a really good insight that I wouldn't have had otherwise going into writing about people with prosthetic legs and who have sustained these kinds of injuries and whatever. All talking about all the kinds of things, like how it feels like to have the prosthetic leg, and how to all kinds of things she goes through, like how to clean it and how to maintain it, how it feels, how it what it feels like with the phantom foot and all this kind of stuff, like details that were really interesting and that I wouldn't have been able to figure out just from going at it from a completely ignorant stance. So I find that research can be a really good tool, as long as you're not using it as an excuse not to write, because that happens. It's called procrastination, right? That's like the kryptonite for every writer, really. But yeah, I mean, we're doing research all the time. We're not just doing research when we're actively looking for something to do research. You're passively doing research when you're doing anything, really, right? That's also what we talked about in the earlier episode with experience and how to write from experience. Like, every experience you have is really research in a way, even if you're not doing so actively or by design, right? You're not necessarily thinking about the fact that you're doing research, but you are, right? You are collecting experience, but that's a different thing also than when you're actively doing research, right? When you have something like how I wanted to know exactly what degree of movement you have with a prosthetic leg, and I go out and I try to ask people and find resources on the topic. That's me actively doing research. I'm trying to specifically figure out this one thing that I've now kind of realized I need to know more about this in order to write about it intelligently, right? And that's also something when you're writing, you have to look out for these things that, don't assume that that you can just figure out how it is, because it's going to set you up for some embarrassment, possibly. Like, I've heard stories. So, but I think it's important to take it seriously. At the same time, don't take it too seriously, and just write. Just, think about that afterwards. Go through the editing. Think about the details when you're doing that, and don't let the details bug you up when you're actually just trying to churn out the story. Because if you keep stopping every paragraph to figure out if what you said was wrong, then you're going to limit yourself. You need to just let it flow as long as you can get it to flow. And even when it stops flowing, then force yourself to make it flow more. Even if it doesn't make sense, just write it. Because if you stop all the time, then I find that most people are going to have a hard time actually finishing, because they stop and edit every 5 seconds and then they just get bored, right? You have to get so into the story that you just don't give two shits about what's on the page right now. Just continue writing, right? It's really like you're just going through the story in your head, and you're just desperately trying to make your fingers keep up. And it doesn't matter if it doesn't keep up. Just stay in your story for as long as possible, and then go back and do the editing. That's what works for me anyway. Some people are different, but I feel like this is probably decent advice for most people, although I'm not going to say it's 100% thing, because everyone is very, very, very different in this. I mean, if anything, if there's like one advice that one could give just generally to everyone, it's just continue trying and experiment and figure out what works for you, right? don't try too hard to shape, like to fit into someone other person's shape of what you should be doing. You know, you should try other people's suggestions and all that shit, but if it doesn't work for you, it's not working. It's not, you know, you don't force yourself to try to fit into that. Just figure out what it is that works for you. If that doesn't work for you, try to modify it and figure out if you can do something to make it more yours or more in line with how you research or how you work best. You know, it's all a matter of personal reflection and trying, just knowing yourself, and that's something we all learn with time. I suppose this is particularly difficult for the younger writers, because, I mean, it takes a while to get to know yourself. I mean, even now at 21, I'm still just figuring out a lot of things about myself and how I work best and how I find that I work in a study environment. How do I get myself to do what I need to be doing? This is something that you figure out as you go through life, and the younger you are, the less experience you have with yourself in this manner. So, you know, mostly it's just a matter of doing and trying and failing and looking back and reflecting and figuring out, okay, why did that not work? And, you know, try to put words to it. Try to, you know, solidify some legitimate theory of how your brain works in this particular thing. It's really just a matter of getting to know yourself, I guess. So that was my topic for today. This was a really short episode, I guess, but, you know, I feel like there's no point in stalling anymore. It's just, that's what it is, and, you know, I encourage you to discuss it and come with your own points and your own experiences. You know, shoot me in the doobly-doo. I'm here. I'm ready to be shot at. Kinda, we'll see, but we'll work it out. Just talk to me, right? And yeah, I'll put up some more things during this week, which will be interesting. Keep a lookout for that, and don't forget to eat your pancakes.